We're going over my top 10 wide receivers this week in week 13. Let's go ahead and throw up the rankings here and let's get started going over some of these guys. Coming in at number 10, we're talking about Brandon Aiyuk going against that Philadelphia Eagles defense that gives up or ranks 32nd against opposing wide receivers. I love this matchup, whether it's between Philadelphia 49ers. I like players on both sides. It's going to be a fantasy safe haven, I believe. I mean, there's going to be players on both sides that's going to look great. So Brandon Aiyuk, I think he's a key component into here. Now, I know last week Deebo Samuel had more fantasy points than Brandon Aiyuk, but in these type of key situations, we always see Brandon Aiyuk really step up. If they hone in on Deebo Samuel and stop him from all his gimmick plays, like his runs and things, they're going to need Brandon Aiyuk down the field, and that's what he can provide against a secondary that just can't stop anybody. I know the biggest reason why they probably rank 32nd is because they're always beating every team, so people are going to need to throw against the Eagles defense, so they're going to naturally give up more passing yards than everybody else. But let me tell you guys, people can beat the Eagles deep, and I think the opportunity here for Brock Purdy to really put on a show here, I love this. So Brandon Aiyuk, easily the 10th wide receiver on my list. Moving right along to number 9, let's go over our guys. Same game, we're talking about Devont Smith taking on that San Francisco 49ers defense, who ranks 17th against opposing wide receivers. Again, I love this game. There's a lot of players that's in this game that has a lot of opportunity. I think for the most part, both defenses can stop the run pretty well. The Eagles have the best defense as far as stopping the run, and the 49ers have a very good defense as well. So I believe it's going to be more of a passing game for both sides here, whether it's going to be Jalen Hurts passing the ball, Brock Purdy passing the ball. Either way you look at it, they're going to be passing the ball quite a bit, so that's why I like Devont Smith here at number 9. He's a really good possession wide receiver, should get plenty of opportunities, and every once in a while he does outplay A.J. Brown because he's hyper-targeted, because they might be double teaming A.J. Brown. You never know whose game it's going to be, but you got to put Devont Smith in the top 10. I have him at number 9. Coming at number 8, we're talking about Tank Dell going against that Denver Broncos defense, who ranks 8th against opposing wide receivers. Now, I do love Tank Dell. This dude is really starting to mesh with C.J. Stroud quite a bit. We're seeing plenty of games, even with Nico Collins in the mix. Tank Dell is becoming the man for this offense, and with a year or two, you're going to see Tank Dell as the bona fide number 1 wide receiver and one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. I truly do believe that. I like them coming out of college, and I like them here. So Tank Dell, especially going against the Denver Broncos defense, who has been definitely better as of late and does have one of the better secondaries in the NFL. I still think against the Denver Broncos team, there's fantasy points to be had against Denver, right? And if anything is going to be giving up points, it's going to be CJ Stroud. That's high-powered offense. Tank Dell should be the recipient of quite a few fantasy points for your team come this Sunday. Moving right along to number 7, we're talking about Mike Evans taking on that Carolina Panthers defense, who ranks 5th against opposing wide receivers. And yes, while they do rank a little bit better because they do have a pretty good secondary, I still think that the ball is being forced to Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield just completely chunking the ball down the field. Doesn't matter if he's triple covered, Mike Evans is getting the ball thrown to him, and he's been able to come down to quite a few of those balls because he's very talented. So he's a good wide receiver. I think he definitely has to be in the top 10 this week. He's producing at a very good level and very consistent for your fantasy teams, and just based on him being hyper targeted, I think he is a great play this week. Get the guy in your lineup. Coming at number 6 here, I'm going to say Jaylen Waddle going against that Washington Commanders defense, who ranks 31st against opposing wide receivers. I love the opportunity for Tua and these wide receivers. I think that they're going to put up a lot of points, and a lot of points quickly. The Washington Commanders have absolutely no chance of stopping this Miami Dolphins defense, and it's going to be fun to watch this game. Jaylen Waddle, an easy set it and forget it play for me this week. Moving right along here, let's talk about our top 5 here. At number 5, talking about Michael Pittman going against that Tennessee Titans defense, who ranks 24th against opposing wide receivers. I like what Pittman's been able to do. It doesn't matter. He didn't really miss a fantasy point production once Richardson went out, and now we have Gardner Minshew. It doesn't really matter. Michael Pittman's really starting to build a solid rapport. Minshew starting to trust Pittman. We're seeing some solid fantasy numbers come out from him. So even though it was a slower start to the season with Pittman, he's really starting to pick it up, and he's putting up really good, consistent numbers for your team. I had to easily put him at number 5, especially against a Titans defense that I believe can be exposed by this passing game of the Colts. Let's talk about number 4 here. Number 4, I'm going with AJ Brown going against that San Francisco 49ers defense. Again, remember I told you guys 17th against wide receivers. AJ Brown's an absolute monster. Most times than not, he is the number 1 wide receiver on this offense, and he can put up some solid points. I think AJ Brown might be a little bit frustrated. He really hasn't had the weeks that he's used to for the past 2 weeks. I think he comes in here, tries to make a statement game against a solid defense in the 49ers. I see them trying to maybe force the ball to Brown a little bit more. I like Brown's chances this week. Moving right along here to number 3 here, we're talking about Keenan Allen going against this Patriots defense who ranks 23rd against opposing wide receivers. Keenan Allen, somebody who's really putting up a lot of points. I think they're trying to force him to the ball quite a bit, and I think that Herbert really has a reliable option. Since Mike Williams went down earlier in the season, Keenan Allen is being just dependent on to being the guy there to not only catch the ball, secure ball on third downs. Doesn't matter. Keenan Allen's getting a lot of targets, and that's easily making him in the top 3 for my list. If you have Keenan Allen, you probably got him a little cheaper in the draft this season because he wasn't highly touted, but very solid fantasy wide receiver, and I think he's got a good matchup against New England this week. Easily at number 3 for me. Let's move it right along to number 2 here. Amon-Ra St. Brown going against that New Orleans Saints defense, who does rank 6th against opposing wide receivers. But think about this: Marshawn Lattimore will not be in here. They just had a couple more injuries. Paulson Adebo, the second cornerback, got hurt. He might not even play. You got Lante Taylor. He ended up getting play. He's the nickel corner, so they could be down a lot of people. And who better to result from that than Amon-Ra St. Brown with nobody out there to really defend him? Amon-Ra should have an explosive game. One of my favorite plays this week by far. Play him against the New Orleans Saints defense. Don't look at the ranking. You got to know who's actually going to be playing in the game. And just due to a lot of injuries that the Saints do have in that secondary position, Amon-Ra St. Brown he's going to be having a nice game. Let's talk about the number 1 guy here on my list. We're talking about Tyreek Hill going against that Washington Commanders defense who ranks 31st against opposing wide receivers. I'm going to say about Tyreek Hill, the dude's phenomenal. He is absolutely phenomenal, explosive, can take it to the house. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-yard hitch route or he'll burn you down deep for 50 yards. It doesn't matter. Tua is getting this guy the ball early and often. He's showing the NFL that he can beat anybody. So Tyreek Hill, not many people who can actually guard this guy. He's just way too fast. You can hope just to play some zone and maybe contain him a little bit. But Tyreek Hill easily gonna explode and go dominant this week. Can't wait to see him against the Commanders. But that definitely wraps up my top 10 wide receivers for week 13. As always, appreciate you guys watching the video. If you wouldn't mind, hit the subscribe button. Really helps out the channel. Got about almost 700 subscribers. We're growing pretty fast. Leave a comment down below and hit the like button. Really helps me out. Helps out with the algorithm. Guys, we're putting out videos, multiple videos, each and every week to help you set the best lineup possible. Can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.